And then you feel depressed because then you're like, but this is all I ever wanted.
This is Jackie of All Trades, a podcast that explores the multi-creative identity and the rise of the portfolio career among millennials and Gen Z in the creative industries. I'm Keturah, a DJ, creative, strategist, CEO, and self-described Jackie of All Trades with a 10-year portfolio career spanning music, digital marketing, and cultural strategy. On this podcast, I speak to people who have also designed their own careers and are successfully juggling multiple creative pursuits to understand what it takes, what they've learned, and how you can do the same. This season, I'm joined by writer, content creator, podcaster, and author Tolly T, DJ, radio broadcaster, TV presenter, A&R, and music label owner Jamz Supernova, journalist, writer, strategist, and director Nati Kasambala, and DJ, writer, artist manager, music label owner, and cultural curator Elijah. This episode is all about Jamz Supernova. You may know her as a broadcaster on BBC Radio 1 Extra and Six Music, as the Future Bounce label owner, or as a DJ killing the electronic music scene globally. Jamz and I met way back when while working at the BBC, and she also happens to be my best friend. Let's get into Jamz's story.
Hi, I'm Jamz Supernova. I'm a DJ, broadcaster, A&R, label owner, TV presenter. I think that's it. I think that's it, yeah.
Busy.
Lover of music.
So let's go back to the beginning. Tell me about, the start of your journey, and how that later progressed into your career. So hobbies, passion, work experience, where did this start?
In terms of the radio side of things, which I think was the real sort of epiphany moment for me, wanting to do radio, is kind of when everything kind of aligned. Because before that, I loved music. I love talking about music, but I didn't know that radio would be a path, even though it's something I always listened to. I thought TV, I want to be a TV presenter. You know, I used to watch X Factor, I used to watch T4, watch MTV Base, and I thought that's it, Trevor Nelson, Makita Oliver, June Sarpong. I found myself at the Brit School opening day for college when I was 16, and I went with a friend just to have a little look around because she wanted to go. I thought they just did music there for singers or actors. And then when I was there, I saw that they had a media course. And I was like, I might just go and I'm going to go upstairs and just check out. They've got a radio studio. Should I go and check it out? And then I got in there and it was like the heavens open and it was like, you.
Aha,
moment. So I was like, wow, this makes sense to me. And then that was kind of it then. That was the path that I was on. And then I did the Brit School. And Brit School's like a very mini industry. By the time I left, I thought, well, I don't need to go to uni because I've already got this hands-on experience. Now I want to apply it. So I ended up doing a year's worth of work experience. So what I would do is I think I got onto a Guardian scheme. They used to do this scheme at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And then you'd get a mentor and then you'd get this you'd get put forward to be a runner.
Oh, nice.
Never got any of the runner jobs because everyone was like, but you're not going to uni, but what is this, some sort of limbo for you? Are you going to be committed? But what I did get out of it was work experience. So for every knockback that I got work experience off the back of it. So then I spent a whole year jumping around. And what I would do at the end of every work experience placement, I'd be like, because I know everyone's friends, do you know where I could go next? Do you have any friends? They'd be like, let me just put you in touch with my friend from MTV. Oh, Sarah will love you. Okay. And then I was working as a teaching assistant in school. So then the next holiday that would come, that's when I'd book it up with work experience. And the last placement that I got, I've been trying to get in there since, leaving college and turning 18 was the BBC. So I applied 3 times, finally got an interview. And by that point, I've been doing all this experience. I was part of this TV presenting competition with Nokia. So I just was living my best life at a young age and had a taste of flying here, doing this, being out of your comfort zone. So by the time it came to the BBC interview, I was like, I've done an outside broadcast. I produced KP was there. And, I was very confident in what I was saying. And then I got the placement and then I never left. So it started then, but very much behind the scenes, very much kind of did the due diligence of the work experience. And I know it's very different now. If someone came in now, there's some aspects of that story that you might not have needed to do.
So this wasn't strictly radio?
No.
This was just media
I did
experience.
media. And then at the BBC, just so happened that the summer that I started, I think they were quite short staffed. So I was basically being an assistant producer. Okay. I was working on Rampage's show. I was working on The Breakfast Show. I was working on specialist shows. And I think that being thrown in the deep end is why I came back then as an assistant producer and didn't have to come back into a junior position. I always knew that being on air was the game, the end of the game, so the end destination. And I remember on my first day actually at BBC, one of the bosses was like, so do you want to be on air or off air? And the person that was doing work experience firstly was like, no, off air. And I was like, I want to be on air. And she was
like, said that for you?
No, he said off air. He wants to be off air. He wants to be production.
Okay.
I was like, no, I want to be on air. And she was like, well, I'll ask you at the end of your 2 months and let's see if you still feel that way. Because I think she thought I'd get put off.
Right.
Like maybe it was too hard. I don't know. Trying to sort the wheat from the chaff or whatever. And at the end I was like, yeah, still on air.
Yeah.
But I really thought in my head like that it would happen really quickly. I think I was a bit naive and maybe I had some not was an easy road in, but nothing seemed that hard.
Yeah.
Until I wanted to get on air. And then that's when the uphill battle really started. Okay.
So let's go back. How did you end up on Represent? So you're doing work experience. You started at the BBC.
Yeah.
Did you start at Represent before?
Exact same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite divine intervention, actually. Like, just kind of happened at the exact same time. I was on another station. So after I left college, I always did radio. So I did college radio.
Right, okay.
Then did like some Sydenham community radio.
Yeah.
So I was always kept up the radio going. And then my friend said, there's a better station called Represent. It's more young. It's for young people. And I started it the same summer that I started at the BBC.
You just went to them, said like, I really want to be a presenter.
Here's my show idea. Here's what I'm thinking. And then, they just sort of trialled me out. I kind of got very much embedded into Represent very early on. So I did first like a one-off show. Then I started doing like a kind of coming in a bit more often and just being part of the station. And then the drive time, they came to me about drive time. So we've got the drive time slot. We think you'd be really good at it. Can you make it work? And I was like, it's going to be hard to make work, but I knew it was what I needed to do.
Because were you working full-time at the BBC?
Freelance, but full-time.
Okay.
Freelance, but taking all the shifts under the sun.
Right, so you could be there in the daytime.
Yeah.
During these drive time slots.
Yeah, so but I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity, but I also didn't want to miss out on the money. And I think something that I wanted to highlight in this conversation, I think what's made me a jack of all trades, even from before being in the industry, I've always done lots of different jobs. I think it's more necessity out of money.
Right.
And not necessarily necessity. I'm not poor. I'm not from a poor background, but there was a lifestyle that I want that wasn't afforded to me. Not a bad lifestyle, but just a easy one. But if I want, my mum was like, "You want those trainers? All right, cool. But you've already got trainers. So if you want those trainers, you're going to have to do,
Right.
And there's that kind of mentality. Okay, but I want to go on holiday, and I want to do these things, But I still want to work on my dreams and I live on my own. So with the drive time show, so what I do, I know I'm not in a position to work any less. They pay for my travel, that's about it. They covered the travel. But that's it. So what I would do is as a freelancer, you can work more than one shift. So what I did was I worked the 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. shift. So I said to the BBC, look, I'm going to start this drive time show. I am still committed, but these are the hours that I can work to the in-house BBC team. So I started doing all the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shifts for them. Right. So I do that. And then I would go to Represent at 5 o'clock, do the show till 7. And then I would go back to the BBC because then I'd work for a production company working on the specialist shows and do 8 p.m. till 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
And I did that for 9 months. But it all kind of fed into each other. And I just knew in that moment, like, I'll never have to work this hard again.
Yeah.
I had a lot of sort of mentors, I would say, in different areas of the One Extra Floor that were kind of like in my ear, giving me things, So I got to do like the R&B news on Ronnie Harrell's show. So that was the first little, and I would record it and then package it up. So they didn't have to do anything, deliver to them
Did you use that something that you suggested? You asked?
Yes, but someone told me to ask them, see if you can get in on Ronnie's show.
Right, okay.
What could you do on Ronnie's show? And I said, I came up with this R&B news thing. Yeah. That was the first sort of instance of me using both my production skills and me wanting to be on air, So I was getting the experience of recording myself and listening to my voice and editing my voice and chopping it up. And I remember, for example, one of the news stories was a sad one, and the producer was like, Jamz, sometimes you're really animated. Just when it's a sad story, just bring it down. Just bring it down a little,
That's so true.
Little things like that. So I got that, they were listening, they were giving me feedback. So that was the first instance. Then that kind of, when Ronnie's show went, that kind of dried up and there wasn't that experience. I'd do a few things on air, but very light stuff, nothing too much. And then I basically worked out that I was in the building too much.
Right.
I became part of the furniture because these are over the 5 years of trying to get the show. So now we're kind of like in the middle. It's like, okay, yeah, there's aspects of you getting good now. We can hear that you're getting better, but like nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And everyone else was so exciting to them. Everybody outside the building is so excited to them. Even if I sound better than them or whatever, they're just more exciting because they're not there. I'm right under your nose. It's Jamz that we've known since she's 19.
Yeah.
Baby Jamz, she's fine, you know, like whatever. So what I had to do is I kind of had to scale down the amount of time that I was working there. I almost left.
Okay.
So I thought, I'm going to leave. I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm going to step out. And I got offered a job at Columbia.
Okay.
But as a sort of work experience, but a job sort of intern-based experience sort of thing. Yeah, paid full-time. But they weren't...
Full-time?
Yeah, they weren't flexible on the radio side of things.
Oh, you still doing the drive time show?
No, I started doing like a one show a week. But I needed to leave at a certain time.
Right.
And they weren't flexible at all with that. They wouldn't budge at all. So that kind of made me feel a bit like, not sure. Right. Then I got offered to produce Toddler Show on Radio 1.
Okay.
That meant that it's a late night show, 1 a.m. on a Thursday into Friday. I was like, this is a great opportunity. I loved working on the show when I was covering and stuff like that. I could go into the building at my own time.
Yeah.
I don't have to see anyone. And I can live off that money just doing that one show a week.
That was what I was going to ask about, the financial implication.
Yeah, if I just do one show a week, I can just about live off it. I could do a few other shifts here and there, but that's my main thing. And I'm only coming in the nighttime. Right. Only coming in when the bosses aren't there.
Okay, so in your mind, them seeing you in the daytime was them seeing you as a radio producer, not as talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I scaled down the amount of times that I was there visible. I'd only come in the evening, come and work in the night. And I think that made a big difference. And kind of simultaneously at the same time, me starting to do a specialist show on Represent, I really started to like focus on this like world on SoundCloud that was like, you know, happening and the music. And I was like really committed. So I'd have the mixes from these guys in LA on Represent. The spill was, you're going to get to be on UK radio, you know, by sending it from my BBC email.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but not BBC though, just Represent. Don't get gassed. And then I put it on SoundCloud straight away the next day or that night even. So that started like building as well. So then people are now talking and like, because the BBC can be a little bit slow on new genres that are taking off, but because I was right there, like Jamz is doing something. Oh, yeah, we don't even have an R&B show right now. So then people started to get like staff started to get angry at like the power that be and like in the kind of like question like Jamz is doing this really interesting take on R&B. Why has she not got a show? We don't have an R&B show. This whole world is happening and we're not across it. That kind of thing. So I think there was a few things. Being less visible helped. Actually finding my specialism, finding my voice, finding my specialism, finding something that I was really, really passionate about and becoming an expert in that area and bringing to them something that they didn't have. Yeah. That definitely stood me in good stead. Okay. Or definitely pushed my head up a little bit more to them as something that they needed. It went from being, I want to be on the station to now the tables are reversing and now you need me.
They need you.
Yeah. So that definitely helped. And then I think the comments from everybody around me, everyone was really fighting for me to get that show and respected people, you know, people in the building that had power and authority from other presenters to senior staff. I think that they really sort of were fighting for me. So that obviously, you know, massively helps as well. But the jigsaw, isn't it? Because someone can't just force you in, you know. So the first show that I actually got offered came off the back of them kicking me off Toddler Show.
So literally no employment.
No, well, you know, and that's the thing of being a slashie is that you have acquired all this contacts and knowledge in other areas. So it was like, okay, well, I might have lost the show, but I can always produce. There's always shows that need producing. So like within a week, I was producing Chrissy Chris. You know, had a contract producing Chrissy Chris for a month, and then I got offered my own show.
So 5 years, essentially, since you joined the BBC to getting offered that show. And that was, you know, like you said, it's the holy grail of radio at that point. So what was that like to reach that milestone?
I mean, I knew it was coming by that point. I knew it. So it was a bit of a different, it wasn't a shock. Okay. I knew maybe for the first time ever, I truly believe that they needed me. And actually, I don't really care whether you're going to do it or not, because I'm so good doing what I'm doing right now. That was the mindset that I got to over the 5 years of being like, please take me. I'm good. Actually, I've got a great show and represent. I'm producing on Radio 1, getting to do little warm-up DJ slots for cool people. Like, I'm good with this, actually. Maybe this is me. Maybe this is my portion. That's what I thought, in my head. Maybe this is my portion. But I thought, and if it's your portion, are you happy with that? And I thought, yeah. And that's when things started, that's when the interest, I think, even intensified, because if you can always dangle a carrot in front of someone, you always will. But if the tables turn and they become more, their worth, that's exciting to people. Maybe that's the piece that they were always missing.
Isn't that interesting when you go in something, like, you're almost desperate for it. You really want it.
Desperate, holding so
desperate, you want it. Like, your whole life depends on this. You want it. At that point, you don't even probably realise, you don't even have the knowledge or the experience to actually do a good job in whatever
and I would have got it. If I got it at 19, 21, I would have lost it. I wouldn't be sitting here, and I wouldn't be the broadcaster I am, and I wouldn't have the knowledge that I have, and I wouldn't have the specialism that I have. But I remember the call, so I knew that I was on fire by that point. I'm on fire, like, shit's popping for me, like, I'm feeling good, like, and then and I knew I was doing something different. So it wasn't just being on fire for the sake of being on fire. I felt like I was changing. I was doing something, you know. Yeah. It felt exciting. So when I got the call, I got a call from Limla, who was the PA to Ben Cooper, who at the time was running the One Extra Asian Network and Radio 1. So then Limla's like, Ben wants a meeting with you. And then I went in and it happened. People don't talk about this side of it. Like, it's something you've wanted for so long and then you get it. And I think you don't, like, there's fireworks, it's amazing, it's emotion. You can't tell anyone.
Yeah, that's the first thing. Yeah.
You've known about it for a month before you can even tell anyone. But then there is the thing of what now?
Yeah.
Because then you get everything you've wanted, you're doing it and it's great. But then there's other aspects of your life that I enjoyed. I went from working all the hours under the sun to doing 1 day a week. Working 1 day a week, on a show.
Yeah.
Because before, all that time was spent hustling towards that. And now I'm doing the show 1 day a week and it's not really fulfilling me, actually. 1 day is not fulfilling me financially. Yeah. It's not fulfilling me financially.
Or spiritually.
Yeah. And then you feel depressed because then you're like, but this is all I ever wanted. And I did kind of get into a little bit of depression after that. And I think I remember speaking to you and you were like, oh, what time did you wake up today? I was like, I don't know, 3 o'clock. You're like, girl, you got to get out of bed, sweetie. You got to get up. There's nothing to get up for. And it's just, only get up on the days that I actually had
to be at work.
There's not productive, not constructive. And what did I suddenly do with all this time? Because I spent all this other time brainstorming, scheming, thinking, plotting, planning, and then to only have one hit for a couple of hours on a Saturday and not that much prep time involved.
Yeah.
It was an interesting one. And I've read in other books, a lot of people have experienced that. I was speaking to a friend actually recently who's just got a book that's coming out and she had the real big high and she's like, but why am I crying today? And I'm like, it happens, honey. It does happen. And we don't talk about that side enough. And you have to be careful who you speak to it about, because to some people it's like, well, you just got what you wanted. Why are you moaning?
Stop moaning.
Yeah. This is what you asked for, like, why are you sad? And it's not that you're sad. It's just you have to shift the thing. And actually, I think we think the mountaintop is like so sweet.
Yep.
And I genuinely do wish if I could talk back to my younger self would be the journey, because the journey was amazing.
Just about to
and now I can appreciate that as 10 years on. I can appreciate that journey. But when I was in it, I don't think I was very much aware of what happened. But I had a great time, great fun. Did some really interesting, amazing things that weren't part of being on air, just by being in production.
Yeah.
Just by doing the job that was the job.
Yeah.
I met some amazing people, did some amazing things, learned so much about myself, quite a skill set, that sort of thing. So, I think that's really important to point out. The mountain isn't, and now I know that the destination isn't the goal.
That's something I think that probably doesn't make sense to people until you experience it. And I think genuinely, from my own journey, it was so much experimentation. I left uni, absolutely knew I didn't want to do anything to do with my degree. I did a degree in international business and Spanish, and then I did a master's in business analytics. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm pretty sure it ain't that. And then off the back of that, went back home, was doing internships for the sake of internships. So my mom would save my back, to be honest. And outside of that, started a music blog. And from there, I was like, oh, maybe I could film interviews. So then I learned to film, I learned to edit, started doing live music nights. And honestly, all of that was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know if this is going to be the most amazing and the most prolific music night in the world. I don't know if this is going to be in the biggest blog in the world. But at that point, I was just like, I'm just learning so much. Like the journey of whatever the destination is, I actually can't control. And I'm not super fussed about right now. But the journey and just kind of exploring and experimenting and collaborating with different people, that was the win for me. But I think, again, it's probably a difference of, you knew from the beginning, you knew early on, you want to be, whether it's TV or radio, you want to be in that role, you want to be a presenter. And I think maybe not having that helped with my mindset of being like, okay, cool, it's not really, I don't have a super high end goal. And even when I got into the BBC and I was about to leave the BBC, like, I was a social media producer at the BBC, so naturally you might think your aspiration is to go into a massive social media agency or creative agency and be a director and all of that. I was like, not really. Like, I just want to create things, I want to make things. But I think, yeah, it's not. And over the years, obviously, your career's changed, my career's changed. We've both grown and developed. And I feel like we do have a lot of conversations back and forth about, this is what you asked for, be in this moment, whether it was, getting Glastonbury or booking different gigs and being like, okay, cool, you got it, but enjoy this moment around it. Like, don't put all this pressure on it. Just enjoy it for what it is. Everything that you did to get to this point, there's so much in that. There's so much enjoyment in that. All the shenanigans, all the gigs that are like, all the random gigs, all the terrible gigs, like all of it's part of it.
Yeah,
playing
definitely.
on mixes that ain't great, like all of that is just part of it. But I think it's not apparent unless either you come at it from my perspective and you don't actually have, one super passion, or you, for whatever reason, like you have that switch where straight away you clock. It's not about the destination. So I understand, but I think, you have to kind of experience that to really get to grips with it.
And I think it changes obviously as you get older as well, because then if I was to use the example of getting on Six Music, that was a different experience because even though it was something that I decided that I wanted at some point, I decided it, but it was kind of in a very relaxed way. Yeah. Say One Extra was like, please take me, please take me, take me. Whereas the Six Music was like, hey, it's cool over there. Yeah, maybe someday. Maybe. I'll put the feelers up, but someday, yes.
It's a good goal to have.
Good goal to have, but but I'm not gonna
put all your
and I think that was a very different experience coming into that, because that was the first time I experienced something like organically, and not having to like kick down the door and drag myself through.
And feel so desperate.
I didn't feel that and again, that maybe the self-worth had grown. I knew that what I was doing was valid and what I was doing was good, and it would be a nice union if you should want me, but if you don't, we're still good.
Keep it moving. I'm still going to keep it pushing.
Exactly.
What I love most about Jamz's story is that she always wants to learn every aspect of what it is she's doing. So from radio, that was learning to be a good broadcaster and a good producer. In the next episode, we'll be speaking to all of our guests and we'll talk about the role of technology and the internet, career-defining moments, what connects the dots between all of their creative pursuits, and the implications when one of your creative pursuits makes more or less money than the others. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at J.O.A.T Podcast UK for extra content. And if you ever want to switch it up, you can always listen to these episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.